This was such a failure on every level. I don't know how else to put it. There's no excuse. There's no reason. Nothing to lose against this Niners team. And I saw Eagles fans say, it's Patullo. Patullo cost us a chance to repeat. If you think that this is on one person losing to the Niners at times C team, you have Brock Purdy, you have Kyle who's still there, you have McCaffrey who's still kicking, you still have the line mostly healthy, even though Trent's like 70% healthy at best. And outside of that, it's the B team. And you still lost. This game being a 6-point spread, though, I will say, was disrespectful as shit. Not giving San Francisco a chance. I saw the analysts, everybody was picking Philly. And to them, I say, you did not watch a single down of Philadelphia football this year. Because even as I say this is a failure, even as I say there was no excuse, no reason to lose to this team, it was so obvious. It was really so obvious that they were going to pull this bullshit. Because for the offense, it is nothing different than I have said all year. So much blame needs to be put on everybody. This is the most pathetic title defense. Your whole team is healthy except for Lane Johnson. And you still can't beat this team? Patullo, let's start with Patullo. He coached at a high school level at best. I think that in the first half, Patullo called a not horrible start to the game. I think that's the best compliment I can give him, is that it looked like you could realistically, something you could see in the NFL. I liked the Goddard reverse play. I liked getting Jalen on the move on that 4th and 2 that ended up being converted. But that second half was just terrible. Classic Patullo. Running nothing but hitches, running nothing but hooks, not finding a way to attack the middle of the field at all. And what the Niners did is they closed the outside and they said, beat us over the middle. Couldn't do it. They closed the outside, stopped the run, and that was it. There was nothing they could do. Nothing but hitches, stop routes, and verticals. 4th and 11 was straight out of Madden. Oh, 4th and 11, we need a lot of yards. You know what we probably should call? 4 verts. 4 verts. It just makes me laugh. I really don't know what else to do. It is absurd how this persisted for 20 weeks. And let me tell you, as we talk about it persisting, Nick Sirianni should be fired. I know that's going to be a hot take. Oh, look at his winning percentage. Oh my God, he wins so much. Not that the Eagles aren't the defending champions. I can come out and just flat out say it instead of heavily implying it like I have been the entire year. How you don't fire Patullo after week 4 is beyond me. How you don't fire him at week 8 is a disgrace. How you don't fire him after what was the Chargers game, week 14, is a fireable offense. No way around it, and it should be. The one time that the ownership group and Howard Roseman didn't listen to Sirianni and picked their own coordinators, they picked Kellen Moore and they picked Vic Fangio. And you want to know what they did? They won the fucking Super Bowl. 40-6. The final score says 40-22. They won it 40-6. That's because this is one of the most talented rosters of the last, 4 years? I do not understand how this team went out like this. And you know who else needs blame? Jalen Hurts. People are going to hate me for it. I know people are going to be like, oh, well, Jalen Hurts didn't have a turnover, all this, yada, yada. No point of the game was I scared of Jalen Hurts. Which sometimes the way we measure quarterbacks is so divisive. The way we talk about quarterbacks is so confusing. Sometimes people use stats, right, if they want to push a certain agenda. Sometimes people will say, I know the stats aren't great, but look at the eye test. Look at the way he can throw the football. That's always been the argument for Justin Herbert is, my God, he can throw a pretty football. But I think at some point in your gut, if you do not fear the other team's quarterback at all, it is a pretty good sign that they are not that great. And I had no fear of Jalen Hurts. None. Everything I watched on film for in preparation for the game, in preparation for the preview podcast, gave me no inclination to be scared of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has not necessarily been a scary quarterback since 22 when he was playing really, really well with Steichen. And I think that they can get Jalen Hurts back to that. I think that with the right coordinator that understands his weaknesses, because I think Patullo did understand them, he just didn't scheme around it very well. He just has one of the best deep balls on the outside in the league. He throws those routes really well. He throws the comeback route at an elite level, and that's it. And that worked for a long time. But when that becomes your only way to pass the ball, it is brutal. It's just brutal. You got 19 points on this Niners team with having 0 turnovers. I do not. It is crazy. And remember, I am a Niners fan. I don't know how the hell you would feel if you're an Eagles fan. This would have to piss you the hell off. Going back to the notes, because that last drive was heinous. Not calling one run when you have 4 downs in the red zone is beyond me. Forcing Jalen Hurts to try and fit it in tight windows in the red zone when you probably still want to kill a little bit of clock. Not calling one run, having 3 incompletions, and 1 failed Jalen Hurts stepping up in the pocket just by that. But Keon White makes a hell of a tackle. But it puts so much strain on the offense for no reason to end that game. It's the same dog shit static offense we have seen since week 1. Also, not to mention, Philadelphia got the added disadvantage in this case of being undisciplined. Like, it felt like I was watching the Cowboys. Really dumb holding penalties that they didn't need to do. False starts, finding yourself in 3rd and longs, being the ones who put yourself in that position. Philadelphia had like 70 penalty yards in this game, and every one of those felt like a dagger. Like, all of them were brutal. The interior offensive line is something we scouted before the game. It struggled in the run game past the first few drives, especially as the Niners started to get more aggressive, started to show more 2-mug, aka 2 linebackers at the line, and it really started to struggle from there, especially when number 27, Jair Brown, came out of the game. Moving back to the Sirianni thing, we know we got into an argument with A.J. Brown, which I can't say I'm surprised about. A.J. Brown has been very obviously unhappy there for a long time. And speaking of which, A.J. in this game may have had one of his worst games as a pro. 3 big drops in this one, and only having 1 target in the second half, which was a drop. I think that A.J. Brown was just never really into that mentally. Like, he's complaining to get the ball. He is in like a dog shit static offense. I understand being frustrated with A.J. Brown. I understand A.J. Brown being frustrated with the Eagles. It goes both ways, in my opinion. A.J. Brown was clearly just not happy there, and they probably should have moved off him at the deadline when they could have gotten a ton of value for him. Not sure what they'll do now. But both him and Devontae Smith struggling to get open against, frankly, a depleted back end. This is a team that was missing their starting free safety. They brought in Lenore and Green, who are 2 good corners. Like, I think Lenore is a great corner. He just struggled in the first quarter of this one. And Renardo definitely can get picked on, but they still couldn't get open. Whether, again, that's a critique of the system, whether that's a critique of the receivers, I think it goes both ways, in my opinion. Jalen, like we talked about in the rant, played a pretty below average game. No turnovers, but it was clear that he never could find the switch and that something was affecting his throws. I think the wind, he just did not deal with it as well as Brock did, which is not great when it's your home stadium. The final play in particular as well just had no zip on it, and it never really had a chance. Even if Eric Kendricks doesn't tip it, it looks like that pass is going to be behind Goddard anyways. And as for the run game, fell flat in the second half, and there's just so much internalizing that needs to be done in Philly. You really got to, I know they fired Patullo, or not fire, but they're demoting him, so he's not going to be the OC anymore, which is 100% the right step. They should have fully fired him. I don't know what he gives you in your building in the coaching staff. He 100% should just be flat gone, but he's Sirianni's buddy, so he won't. I don't know how you look at this offense and be like, even though it's so talented on paper, it realistically was as healthy as you could ever want it to be. I understand Lean being out sucks, but if you just look around at the league, having to only deal with one major injury is a goddamn blessing. Having to bring in 21 out of your 22 guys from week 1 is a blessing. Most teams, if you are that talented and you have all of your guys healthy, you win a Super Bowl. But Philadelphia gets bounced in the wild card. Moving on to the Eagles defense. It was a great chess match between him and Kyle, as expected, and they came up just short. The main, of course, thing that sort of blew the game open was the trick play. It felt like San Francisco took control of the game right there. At that point, the Niners really kind of had their handle on it, especially when they took the lead. This is the type of game where when the Niners were down, it felt insurmountable just because it was like, oh, we have no Kittle. How are we going to move the ball? But as soon as we somehow got the lead, it was like, well, they're not going to do anything with the ball. And yeah, they ended up getting just 3 points to close the game out. Only got 1 sack, though, pretty shockingly. I think that's a combination of course, there was a penalty that wiped out a sack on the last drive. And then Brock was just really did a great job in the pocket, was really escapable. And the Niners offensive line played a solid enough game. I'll give them credit. They game planned to get well against Christian McCaffrey up till the 4th quarter, where CMC was like, okay, we got to make sure we go win the game. And, just did CMC things. That's kind of just to be expected. But if you look back, I think the Eagles end up allowing like 300-something yards for the game. And 180 of them were on explosives. You had the 60-yard Demarcus Robinson play. You had the 40-yarder to Juwan Jennings. And then you had a 40-yard play from Juwan to Christian McCaffrey. So it's 140, which is half of the yards just came on explosive plays, which means the Niners really couldn't move the ball for the majority of the game. It was just those explosives were so brutal for them. Even as much as I am saying, like, it really wasn't the defense's fault, you have to know the offense is just not going to put up more than 20 against a good team. They haven't really since the Rams game, and that game had a blocked kick return for a touchdown, and that was in week 3. So they knew they had to hold San Francisco realistically to under 20, and they couldn't. So if you want to give them some blame, I think that is fair.